All right, everyone, as promised, here it is. I have finally gotten around to putting together and editing my official room tour. So we're going to go in and we're going to take a look. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of how everything looks in the first shot. Might try to do these all in short takes instead of one long video. There might be some editing involved. I might have to dub over a couple videos if things don't work out the way I want to say them, or if I'm going to add a little bit more detail. But again, this is just a quick overview of what my current office looks like. So starting with the door wall, just a couple of signs. I got that one from Hobby Lobby. I bought a custom light switch cover off of eBay. I'm a pretty huge fan of the different Star Wars calendars they've released over the years, and I thought that some of the pictures that they included make great wall decor. So these and the ones on the opposite wall came from one specific calendar. Right here is where I do my figure review and any of the photos that I post on Facebook or Instagram. That metal sheet actually came from Hobby Lobby a few years ago. I haven't seen any restocked recently, so if you're asking where it is or if there's a link for it, I haven't been able to track it down anymore. I kind of wish I picked up more because if I remember, I think it was like $4 or something like that. Underneath, I do have my Black Series 6-inch TIE Fighter and Snowspeeder. And then in the back is actually somebody was cleaning out their attic at work and they found the old original Star Wars vinyl records that they decided to give me as a gift, which I thought was pretty cool. And there's just a light for that. So taking a look at this wall, this is the wall that has my desk. These are custom curtains that my grandmother made for me. Again, fabric from Hobby Lobby. And then I actually took a cheap plastic Darksaber and made kind of like a makeshift curtain rod for them. Thought that was kind of neat. Guitar. This is another calendar that I had gotten where they had the original 12 Kenner card backs as the months, and then the extras they have are actually on a thicker card back with the Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett, and Luke Skywalker, which I thought was neat. So again, this is the wall with my desk. I'm a teacher at our local school district, so there are times where I do have to work from home on snow days, so they do make us teach online. So I do have a lot of my resources sitting here on a TIE Fighter bookshelf that my mother and father made for me. Again, not much to say about my desk, just a bunch of different signage and things like that. One thing I will note about my desk is I do have this toolbox in here, and I don't display all of the accessories with my figures. So if we look in this is where I keep all of my spare accessories for all of my figures. I tried to organize them as best as I can. I might wind up getting something larger that stores them in a couple different spots. So if we look here, it's kind of like the longer weapons, smaller pieces, lightsabers, and additional hands, heads, things like that. But all of the Black Series accessories that I have are kept in here, just because there's a lot of them. I'm never going to complain about Black Series accessories. I always think that that's something that they could definitely add into Black Series figures. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go shelf by shelf and kind of explain what they are and how I have them themed out. I'm not the kind of collector that just likes to randomly throw them out on shelves, or I really don't like when people do it in like a series in a line. I know some people do that and that's fine, but that's not how I have it. So the first shelf on the top, I kind of have just like a mishmash of different clone troopers. So we do see there are some official ones, but this shelf is mostly taken up with we'll call them the customs. A lot of 501st troopers. I did order some of the recent 442nd troopers, so they'll be in, and I'll probably try to fit them on this shelf somewhere, I guess. Like I said, I think I'm running out of room and I might need to invest in an 8th one. So this is kind of like a Clone Wars-ish shelf, and then underneath it is a continuation of that Clone Wars shelf. This one I decided to kind of stick with more like main characters, more prominent named clones. Really, I think the only one that's missing from this particular shelf is Previsla, who I'm waiting for. I do have him pre-ordered, so he'll probably be in, hopefully in the next couple weeks, and I'll find a spot for him here. Underneath that, I guess we could kind of say is like an extension off of the Clone Wars shelf, but here is the Bad Batch shelf. I was lucky enough to get in all of the pre-orders from Walmart, luckily, so they all came in all in bubble mailers on their own, so it was unfortunate, but since I'm an opener, it really didn't bother me too much. I did buy a second tech, so you could see that here's the Season 2 look. And then I do have the second tech I bought for the extra head here, because I felt that was a very, very big misstep on Hasbro's part, not including at least removable goggles with the first figure. So I did hollow out his original helmet, and it does fit rather well. So I kind of keep the Season 1 looks helmetless, and then Season 2 I have their helmets on. And here we do have the new Omega. It's a great looking figure, and the alternate head fits perfectly on the Season 1 Omega figure as well. Underneath that are my 2 Force Awakens shelves. So I think we did get a decent amount of figures from the sequel trilogy. There are a couple main characters that I think were missing, so I will talk about that when I get to the other shelves. But this one's kind of like a favorite scenes, I guess I'll call it, from the movie. Obviously, Rey wielding the lightsaber for the first time and defeating Kylo Ren. Finn taking on FN 2199, I believe it is, on Takodana, so that was cool. And then obviously that ending scene really stuck with me. You know, being able to see that on the big screen on opening night was really cool. And then underneath it is the rest of the Force Awakens. Again, pretty sizable amount of figures here. I think we really hit on all of the main characters. In the back there, I don't know if you could see it, but that is actually the Galaxy's Edge General Hux, just with an extra First Order hat that I had. I don't have the original because I felt this was an upgrade with the photo reel and the fact that he didn't have the hat molded onto his head. But again, like I said, decent amount. The next shelf I have, I guess, is more so filled with prequel trilogy. As you can see, this one is a Phantom Menace shelf. Technically, Aura Singh came in the Clone Wars box, but I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, she first showed up in the Phantom Menace, and if I take her away from this shelf is already the least amount as far as population goes in my collection. As you can see, even the pit droid from the Galaxy's Edge Droid Depot I threw in there, because if Aura Singh wasn't there, we'd have 6 figures for the Phantom Menace shelf. I know some people might argue, like, oh, maybe you could put Mace Windu there. To me, his look, obviously, since he comes with the purple lightsaber, really doesn't match his Phantom Menace look, even though they did release him in a Phantom Menace card for the 50th anniversary. I don't really see him as part of that. One thing I am very excited about is obviously the announcements when they pipelined Episode 1 Anakin, Padme, the Droideka. I love Star Wars all around. I really haven't been upset or disappointed with any of it. So any sort of balance we can have with prequels, original trilogy, I'll be more than happy to continue to collect those figures. But obviously seeing some love given to Phantom Menace in the Black Series is a must, and I'm really excited to add those new figures to the collection. Underneath that is my Attack of the Clones shelf. I do have the Gaming Greats Jango Fett in the back. I really didn't feel the need to keep the original when they re-released him. It's the photo reel updated face. However, I would gladly accept a new Jango Fett into the collection if they decided to redo him, a complete retool, some form of a deluxe or something like that. You know, the vintage collection is getting a deluxe Jango. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. The body is very bulky, he's hard to stand, and I definitely think we're overdue for a new one. Definitely on my top wants list as far as retools go. For this shelf, there's not really a lot of different characters missing. I don't have the original Phase 1 clone trooper anymore since the announcement of the new Phase 1 clone. I figured the original was, the original I had is on the older body, just like all of the ranked clones here, but then I did get the one on the newer 2020 body, and I did sell that one off in anticipation of the new one coming out. I'm assuming is going to be on the new 2023 body, which I will show you on the Revenge of the Sith shelf next. So for this shelf, again, really the only ones missing are the plain Phase 1 clone, and then obviously the announcement of the Super Battle Droid and C-3PO on the Battle Droid body as well. They're going to look really nice. Probably another big want of mine is that they would eventually redo the ranked clones, because I feel like that body mold is just so outdated that now that they have the new clone body, I think the ranked clones would look really good on that. So underneath that, like I said, is my Revenge of the Sith shelf. So I did manage to get the entire new wave of figures in, including, you saw the Ahsoka and the Omega on the last shelf unit. So I do have the new 2023 Phase 2 Clone Trooper. Again, definitely a vast improvement. Removable helmet, head underneath looks great. I do have the Magna Guard. He was a little stiff coming out of the packaging, but he poses really well, and I do really like the look of it. I know a lot of people complained thinking it was more white than gray for the Revenge of the Sith. I guess it is more white in the Clone Wars, and I think I've seen two different versions of it. One is gray and one is white, but I'm going to be completely honest, standing him next to Grievous, I don't really have too many complaints with it. This is the new Appo. I'm just counting him as a 501st Clone Trooper. There's, really no distinction. There wasn't a distinction in the movies to differentiate him between any other regular clone, so that's what he's acting as. As far as troopers missing on this shelf, or figures in general, I am going to add the new custom 442nd clone to this shelf. And then the long-anticipated Ki-Adi-Mundi, I think, will eventually go on this shelf as well. And again, as far as top ones, retools, Obi-Wan, Anakin, both of them, really need to be redone. Hoping with Revenge of the Sith's 20th anniversary coming up, maybe we could see those in the line. Underneath it are my two Last Jedi shelves. So the first one is kind of like a Snoke's throne room, I guess, theme. So I do have Rey and Kylo up front, Snoke sitting on his throne. The different Praetorian guards, I decided to get an extra one of the regular release, just to have a different variation of all 4 weapons that are in the show. In the movie. I know he has 8 total, but it's basically 2 of each guard wielding the same weapon. So I went with just the 4 different weapons. And as you can see, this one in the back was part of the Forces of Evil 4-pack. And he's the only one that came with the cloth skirt, while the other 2 came with a softer plastic. So I wanted to keep it consistent. And a long time ago when it first came out, I decided to get some extras. So now they all have cloth skirts. Definitely makes a difference with posability. And then underneath it is the rest of the Last Jedi figures. This is another one that I really think was represented pretty well as far as figure form. Thinking back to the actual movie itself, I can't really think of many other figures that I would have wanted from that movie, other than the obvious, like Crate Luke or Leia in her outfit that she wears on Crate as well. They both wear those, a lot throughout. Well, she wears it a lot throughout the movie. And then just the scene of, Crate Luke taking on Kylo Ren. I wouldn't mind a Luke in his I don't really know what to call it. I guess his outfit from Octu. He was in the Jedi robes for a very short time in that movie, so I wouldn't be opposed to either one of those, but I think Crate Luke is probably the one that I will want more than. All right, moving to the third set of shelves. I apologize, I'm talking a lot. I just want to, explain everything again with the themes and what's going on with the different shelves, so this video might wind up being a lot longer than I originally anticipated. So here on the top, we have our Jedi Fallen Order / Jedi Survivor shelf. I do have the rocket launcher for that Stormtrooper. You'll see that in a second. I'm caught up with this shelf. I think there's a lot of characters from the games that I would love to see. They are bigger characters, so I would imagine they would probably be deluxe releases, but some of my top ones are, a lot of the main characters. We have Cal and we have Second Sister. I don't have that here because I decided to sell it off in anticipation of the new Amazon 3-pack coming out. But I think there's just a lot of main characters that we are missing from this game that would go great on this shelf. Obviously, the Mantis crew. And then from Jedi Survivor, there's a lot of newer characters that we could include, like Bode is obviously one of them. And then, like I said, with some of the bigger ones, I think a Ninth Sister in the Black Series would look absolutely incredible. And, probably a Jaro Tapal as well. He was a pretty prominent character in the first game through the flashbacks. Underneath that, I don't really know what kind of theme I was going for these next two. Basically, they're gaming characters, and I kind of distributed them out evenly. So this one I kind of went with Battle Droid Overflow / main characters from the games. So that's why we have Starkiller, and we have a variety of, the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic throughout this shelf. I did customize Nihilus back there. He is mostly a Kylo Ren body to give him the height that he needs, so you can see he is a little bit taller than Revan now, which is more accurate. Obviously, the Gaming Greats line is mostly reuse, so I understand using the Darth Maul mold for that, but it took away from the figure itself, so I did want to customize that. And then obviously here's Starkiller, the newest PulseCon exclusive. I was very happy when that was announced. I think that was totally worth the cost, and I instantly bought it as soon as it went up for pre-order. And then underneath that, I guess this one's kind of like the troopers that are present in the games. So I have the Rocket Trooper on a stand. That's the rocket launcher from the Jedi Fallen Order Stormtrooper. And then the Delta Squad up front. So really not too much to say about this one. Just it's a bunch of troopers that showed up in a bunch of the different video games. Since we don't have a lot of Rise of Skywalker characters that were given in the Black Series, I decided to do kind of like a Rise of Skywalker underneath, and then this one is a Galaxy's Edge themed. So all of the Galaxy's Edge figures that were released originally through the Disney parks and then through Target are on here. Doc Ondar being probably one of my favorite figures that I've received this year, and then obviously with the announcement of Moma Nadan coming out, I was very excited to have some more aliens in the collection. This is a resin print from Landspeeder Luke. Great guy. I love watching his video reviews, and he is just an incredible artist. The stuff that he is able to create for 3D printers is comparable to no one else. So I usually don't print things out, but I felt like with Doc Ondar, he needed his table from his Den of Antiquities, so I decided to have somebody print that one for me. Great piece. Definitely check out Landspeeder Luke. He has a YouTube channel, and his Instagram page is constantly updating different files that he has as part of his Patreon. And then I have the different droids that were released, kind of going along with like the Droid Depot theme, because I didn't really know where else to put them. And then again, here's the Rise of Skywalker. Probably the most underrepresented of the sequel trilogy movies as far as figure forms go. I think in both scales, Black Series and the Vintage Collection, we could have had a lot more characters. Just some missteps here, giving us one Knight of Ren instead of the entire team. A lot of different characters. You could see I'm kind of like transferring over characters. So Poe was technically released for The Force Awakens, but he does show up in that outfit, so I put him on the Rise of Skywalker shelf. Just, again, a lot of characters. Poe and Finn, obviously the sequel trilogy wasn't received well by fans, but again, I love Star Wars, and it all needs to be represented to me. So, Finn and Poe in their Rise of Skywalker outfits is, a huge miss. Palpatine, I mean, he was cool looking, whether you agreed with his return or not. He was cool looking, whether it was a figure released hooked up to that machine or his Sith Eternal attire. He's another one that I think would look great on this shelf. All right, moving on to the fourth set of shelves. So I was able to get the Ahsoka wave in. I'm hoping to add the newer ones hopefully soon, maybe by the end of the year. So this one I decided to go with a Rebels/Ahsoka type shelf, just because I feel like the Ahsoka show, now that it's over, was Rebels Season 5. I mean, I don't think a lot of people would argue with that. The HK droid in the back, I did just paint his visor black underneath to break up some of the color, and then that staff is actually the spare staff that came with the Magna Guard. He should have come with it in the first place, but again, I'm not going to try to complain too much. Not much to say about this. Again, another Landspeeder Luke print is the scarf and the hood for Darth Maul to give him his proper Rebels look. Great figure to begin with, and then it just adds to it once you add that scarf and the hood. So as far as characters missing from this shelf, Hera, Huyang, and then the three bad guys with the sabers, Marok, Balin, and Shin. They'll all be added to this shelf once they're released. I guess with this shelving unit, I kind of went with like a Disney Plus theme going for the whole shelf, because underneath it is the Book of Boba Fett, and just kind of like an overflow of the different Boba costumes and the colors that we've gotten in the Black Series. So that's why you see the Comic-Con exclusive Bounty Hunters, Boba Fett, the Kenner colors, droids, the prototype, that's all there. I didn't mind Book of Boba Fett. Again, another one that I think, underrepresented as far as characters go. It'll be nice to add like the Tusken Chieftain, the Pike Soldier, the Mandalorian to this shelf, but there were a lot of cool different characters in that show that I think would look cool in figure form as well. So hopefully, Book of Boba Fett isn't forgotten and they decide to release a couple more, but I'm still pleased with what we got. Chrysanthemum's a beast and Cad Bane looks really cool, so I can't complain about that. Underneath that is the Kenobi shelf. I might wind up moving the Grand Inquisitor back down to here, only because I feel like my Rebels shelf is getting crowded, but this is completely up to date. The only one obviously missing is the Jedi Legend Kenobi from Walmart, so I think he's going to be released early November, so I will definitely add him to the shelf once he's there. Overall, as far as the Kenobi representation, I think Black Series did a very decent job representing a lot of the characters. Probably the only ones that I would say are missing that I would absolutely want in the Black Series are just young Leia and young Luke, because they were shown a lot in the show. Then I want figures of them. But honestly, if they would just release those two and then never release another Kenobi figure again, I would probably be satisfied with that. Would I turn down any other characters from the show? Absolutely not. But I feel like those two definitely are missing, and they would probably really kind of complete the shelf and the look of it. Underneath that, I decided to combine together my Rogue One and Andor shelves. I felt like there were too many Rogue One figures to put on their own shelf and not enough Andor figures to put on its own shelf, so I decided to mix the two. This one is more along the lines of like good character, Rebel Alliance shelf, so you do see a mix of the original Rogue One characters and figures mixed in with the recently released Andor figures, so that's going on here. And then underneath it, I decided to do kind of like an Empire theme shelf, so people who either served in the Empire or were kind of in their Empire attires. That's why I have Galen and Cassie in there. I didn't really know what to do with Vel. I felt like she's kind of got like a darker side to her, so she fit more in with this shelf than she did with the upper shelf. So again, another one that Andor I enjoyed, and there's a couple characters from that show that I wouldn't mind having in the Black Series. I think my top three are probably Deidre, Cyril, and Kino, and beyond that, again, if we didn't get any more, that's okay, but I wouldn't turn down any other characters put in the Black Series. The fifth set of shelves was kind of hard to just split out, so you'll notice that I'll just pan over here really quick. So my Mandalorian shelves kind of go across the top, but then you'll see that the original trilogy go up and down in terms of that, and then the bottom shelves are just kind of random shelves that I didn't know what to do with. So if we look here, this theme is kind of like a Season 1 Mandalorian shelf, so all of these figures were shown in Season 1. Not really much to say about this. It's a Season 1 Mandalorian shelf. The next three are going to be a New Hope related. So here we have kind of like an outdoor Tatooine theme, I guess. That's why I have the Tuskens, Sand Troopers, so basically any of the characters that appeared out in the sands of Tatooine are on this shelf. New R5-D4 will go on this shelf once it's released. Underneath that, I went more for like an indoor/cantina theme, I guess. That's why we kind of have the recreation of the scene of, Leia's projection on the table. That is the Comic-Con exclusive. That was a really cool addition, and being able to listen to her whole message. I don't have the batteries in it because I was afraid that they were going to leak if they exploded. Only one missing here is the new Moma Nadan when it's revealed. So again, more Cantina aliens. I'll be happy to add them to this shelf if they release them. And then underneath that, kind of going with a Death Star/Rebel Alliance theme. Not really much to say about this. If I had to pick figures that I would hope would get retooled eventually, probably Han and Luke in their Stormtrooper outfits, but they're very low on my wants list. We already have them, so I'm not going to put them up on the priority list right now. And then Solo, again, this one I didn't really know where to put. I wanted to put it on kind of like the Disney Plus shelf, but that was already taken up, so this one just hangs out here. Good representation as far as this movie goes. We definitely got a lot of characters. Probably the only big ones that I'd say are missing that I would want is just a different version of Kira, and that's probably it. Maybe a Corellian outfit Han. Again, we got a decent showing for Solo in the Black Series, so I was very happy with being able to add all of these in. Okay, sixth and second to last one, we have a Mando Season 2 shelf. Again, nothing really to add here, just characters who appeared in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. I added Morgan Elsbeth to this one, so Ahsoka spoiler coming up if you haven't seen the finale. I know it's been out, but I'm really hoping that they decide to make a redo of her in her Night Sister makeup for her face with the Sword of Talzin, but I decided to just put her here. Again, no accessories, so I gave her the Beskar spear from the Amazon 3-pack. Felt like she fit in more there. Underneath that are my 3 Empire Strikes Back shelves. So, favorite scene from this movie is obviously the fight between Luke and Vader. And then I just decided to put the deluxes, the bigger scale creatures. These are the Archive Han and Luke, so they're not the originals. And then that is the Comic-Con Wampa. I did a poll on Facebook a while back, and a lot of people actually voted that they wanted a Tauntaun, not just a reuse, but an open belly version like the old Kenner days. I think that would be cool to add to the shelf. Underneath that is I'll call it a bounty hunter / Bespin theme, even though there is a lot of Bespin characters missing. I felt like 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back would have been perfect for it. Very major characters that were missed. I'm the kind of person who I'm like, recreate the original 96 in Black Series versions. Lobot, Ugnaughts, Bespin Wingguards, they'd all look great on this shelf, so I was really disappointed that, and again, up until this point, we haven't gotten any of those characters. I think, collectors really want a lot of original trilogy representation, and I agree. I think all of the trilogies, all of the shows should be represented in one way, shape, or form, but original 96, let's get them in Black Series versions. And then underneath that, I went with a Dagobah Hoth, probably my favorite Luke Skywalker figure in the Black Series. I think as far as likenesses go, this one is probably the closest to Mark Hamill. And, that was back when the deluxe set came out, $44.99, and I looked at it and I'm like, that's a deluxe set to me. New Dagobah Luke, alternate hands, brand new Yoda sculpt. He's the right size, the backpack. It's just, it was a great figure, and I'm really happy to have that one. And then I guess I'll call this one kind of like my EU Legends shelf when we're looking at that. All cool characters. A lot of them utilized reuse, which is fine. I don't have a problem with reuse when it's done properly. Looking at you, Credit Collection, and what's the other one? I don't remember. Oh, Carbonized. Yeah, Carbonized. I have a Carbonized Mando, only because I like Mando. I kept it in the box, and I think I'm just going to get rid of it. I don't think those were great representations. You want to reuse figures and repaint them, that's fine. Let's get some representation from characters that actually showed up. But I'm going off on a tangent, and I don't want to. Anyway, reuse, definitely done right. Great characters here. I hope that we get the rest of Scar Squadron, because only having 2, the rest of the squad is missing. So I hope we do get them. And then seeing characters like Mara Jade and Jaina Solo make it into the line, I'd love more. I definitely think like a Jason Solo / Darth Caedus would be great. They could probably find a lot of reuse for that. And, I was growing up in the 90s with Star Wars, and, EU was kind of like a thing back then, so I am familiar with it to a certain extent. So I do know these characters. I have read about these characters and other characters from the EU. I'd say probably at this point, if I had to say top 10 all-time Black Series ones, Dash Rendar and Kyle Katarn. If they decided to make those 2 particular figures and then just like end the line, I would absolutely be okay with it, because those are 2 of my favorite characters growing up. Loved playing as them in the games, loved reading about them. I really want 6-inch versions of those, so I would be happy to add them to either this shelf or my gaming. All right, last shelf. Before I do that, I just want to mention up on the wall here, another calendar that I had gotten had a representation back when The Last Jedi came out. That's why there's no Rise of Skywalker, but the Skywalker saga has the 8 movies. Pretty cool looking posters, just with like the close-up shot of the different helmets and the different faces from each of the movies. I thought those were really cool. So, I kind of have like the original trilogy here. I thought that would look cool on the wall, and since there's 8 of them, this is the biggest wall in the room. So, and then just again, I'll pause here just as a reminder to, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on the video. If you subscribe, I do figure reviews. I want to get into more reviews. It is kind of hard with my job right now because it does take up a lot of my free time. And then any other free time that I do have, I like to spend with my son and my wife. But anytime I do get free, I do like to make different videos, different reviews of new figures that come out. I'm hoping to do like top 10 wants lists from different movies, different shows. Definitely something I want to dive into a lot more to really, get myself out there and grow that fan base as far as being an avid Black Series collector. So back to the shelves. Top shelf is, I'm not going to call it a Season 3 Mandalorian shelf because there's obviously Season 1 and Season 2 looks, and we don't really have a lot of characters that were in Season 3. Obviously the big ones, we got, Paz Vizsla, we've got the Armor, Bo-Katan, and her, I guess I'll call them the Night Owls. Those are all great. So this one I just kind of stuck with a strict Mandalorian shelf. So any of the characters in Mandalorian armor are on this shelf, and I'll probably add like the Fleet Commander that's coming out to this shelf. I'll add the Pipelined Night Owl to this shelf. So this is just a strictly Mandalorian shelf. I know Season 3 Din is also pipelined, so I don't know if I'm going to pick that one up if it's too close to the Book of Boba Fett version. Obviously, I'll pass on it, but if it is a legit Season 3 look, maybe from like the Season 3 finale where he has, I don't know, the jetpack that he stole off of one of the like Mando troopers and the pistols, something. It's got to look different. It's got to be enough of a difference to make me want to buy it. If it's a copy of the Book of Boba Fett, I don't want it. So this shelf might stay just like that for a while. Underneath that is the 3 Return of the Jedi shelves. So just to scan this one really quick, that is the new Jabba the Hutt that came out in the 40th anniversary box for Return of the Jedi. I did have the original San Diego Comic-Con version. I decided to sell that one off once the other one got announced. It was an even wash, which I usually do that. I like to have an even wash. I don't look to make money off of rarer figures that get released, or re-released, I should say. I just like to say, all right, if I can sell this off and it can pay for the new version that's updated with photoreal or whatever the update might be, then I'm happy. So then obviously, we got the new painted Salacious with the updated articulation, which looks really good. Just a note here, we would have gotten the Luke Skywalker with the Rancor, had it funded and had the tiers worked out. I'm very upset about that. I've been very vocal about how I really wanted the Rancor to back just because it was a Black Series 6-inch, creature. I'm hoping it's not dead. Never say never. But going back to this, I did decide to get an extra Mandalorian Luke Skywalker, and I took the accessories from the Walmart exclusive just to have a version of him from Jabba's palace with the updated articulation. It's basically what we would have gotten had the tier hit with the Rancor. So I think it's a much better looking likeness than the original that came out from the Walmart exclusive. Accessories are good. Just to note about this Boba Fett, I did take the helmet and remove the gray sculpt underneath it, and this is actually the only credit collection representation I have. That is the Boba Fett head from the credit collection Boba Fett from the Wave 3. I decided to get that one because the printing is a lot better than the original. Obviously, there's not the white print over the scarring, and I don't know if Boba was bald underneath his helmet before he went into the Sarlacc pit and it burned him, but I mean, it was Tamara Morrison underneath it, so I thought that was kind of like a cool little custom, I guess I'll call it. So, and the helmet fits normally because the helmet was made for that head. So, again, just kind of like a nice little addition that I decided to add there. Underneath that, I do have to mention before I go into the next shelf, that is a custom printed Jabba's throne from eBay. I don't recall the seller name I got it from. It does pop up from time to time. I might stop in Hobby Lobby and maybe get some like felt carpets just to add a little bit of color to it, but another misstep that I wasn't happy about. Again, it's not enough to make me furious and stop collecting, but they re-released Jabba. I know they said it would have added to the cost, but let's be honest, if they would have added a plastic throne in and added another $20 or $25 onto it, people probably would have bought it. So I am a little upset that they didn't include it this time around, but it is what it is. I have the printed version and I'm happy with it. So this shelf, I kind of have just like a Rebel / Imperial from Return of the Jedi. The last one was obviously Jabba's Palace themed. I do have the new Vader and Luke from the 40th anniversary Wave 3. Luke is definitely an improvement, I gotta say. I know the likeness still isn't spot on, but just the updated articulation looks great. I had the original Blue Line Vader, and again, got rid of him in anticipation with this. So, a huge upgrade, probably was my favorite Vader in the line until the Duel's End Vader came out, because that one is just, to me, a lot better looking. Amazon Emperor is sitting on an SH Figuarts stand. I found a used one really cheap on eBay. I know it's going for like $90 now, but I think I paid like $40 for mine because it was opened. Just a black backdrop with some silver Sharpie to look like stars. Really brings that shelf together, so I really like that. Under here is my Endor shelf. So I have all of the Rebels, the Ewoks, Scout Trooper, the Four Spirits. That is a custom bridge that I built out of $3 sticks and some twine from Hobby Lobby. So Hasbro said right in the fine print, bridge not included. So I said, all right, I'll just make one, I guess. And I think I spent a total of $6 between that and the hot glue for the glue gun that I have. So that's fine. $6 is $6. As far as characters missing from Return of the Jedi, obviously I'd love more of Jabba's goons to add. Yak Face being probably the biggest one, and, you know, the ones that everybody knows. And the original 96, like, you know, Weequay, Reese, the different Nicktoons. Like, come on, let's get some more aliens in there. And I guess the biggest thing that bothers me sometimes is when figures show up in one scale and not the other scale. I sit back and I say to myself, well, the files, the digital files are already there. You just have to make the molds. So part of the job is already done. You look at the vintage collection, they have a bunch of Jabba's goons already. They have the files. Just make the molds and people will buy them. And the same thing goes for Black Series. You know, all of these characters from like Kenobi and Ahsoka that aren't being made in the vintage collection. You have the files, just make the molds. But again, I'm going off on a tangent. Other missing characters, Return of the Jedi, more Ewoks. If we look back at the original 96, Chief Chirpa, Logray, I'd gladly add more Ewoks to this shelf. Maybe in the future, they might make a Sebastian Shaw Anakin Force Spirit for like Power of the Forces 40th anniversary. It didn't really bother me that they went with Hayden Christensen. Like, I don't care. I know people are furious either way. Like, people like the Anakin from Revenge of the Sith. The others want the original. Like, I don't know. It doesn't bother me. So it's a cool looking figure. And then underneath that, the final shelf is my comic shelf, I guess I'll call it. I like the comic line. I really do like it. Again, reuse, used properly. Chrysanthemum, I think, is probably my least favorite, just because, again, it's a reuse line, so I get where they were coming from, but, you know, he's so similar to the Book of Boba Fett one. It's like, why even waste the time to go through it? Just wait until the Book of Boba Fett one comes out, and everybody would have been happy, but it's fine. It's a reuse line. I don't remember the name of the G.I. Joe character, so G.I. Joe fans, I apologize. Bought this head off of Mercari for $5 because I thought it was very similar to how Kyrkanos looked in the comics, so I decided to buy that. Fits nicely on the peg, just doesn't stay on. So if it sits still, it's a nice snug fit, but if you go to try to turn it, it does loosen up and fall off, so I do have him posed. So I was happy about that. But yeah, just, again, comic shelf, nothing really much to say about this one. If they keep doing the reuse, again, comic figures, Scar Squadron, newer characters that haven't been in the line. You know, Jackson's an obscure character, but he was brand new. So keep doing that. Sorry for talking so much, but again, you know, this is a collection that has been around since day one. I've been collecting the Black Series since it started in 2013. The original figure, the only one I have left, because R2, Darth Maul, and Luke have all been updated, but we'll talk about this. Let me end this section of the video, and I'll. So again, this is probably, I think, the oldest figure that I have in the entire collection, because if you look at the very first wave, it was the Sand Trooper, X-Wing pilot Luke, R2-D2, and Darth Maul. The Darth Maul and Luke Skywalker that I have now are not the originals, because I sold them off with anticipation of getting the archive versions. And the R2-D2 is not original, because once they released the newest version with the corrected scale. I sold off the original one as well. So this is the oldest figure I have. Just like a backstory, 2013, I wasn't really aware that the Black Series was a thing. I had stopped collecting Star Wars for a long time, and I focused on, believe it or not, WWE and Mattel, and that was the focus of my collection. Talking to a buddy of mine, he had them at his house. He had the first wave sitting there on the shelf and said, yeah, they're starting a 6-inch Star Wars line. Later that week, I stumbled into Toys R Us, saw the entire first wave sitting on the shelf, and I'm like, yeah, these are cool looking. I'm definitely going to get these. And then the rest is history. Obviously looking at the collection, we've got, over 400 in the collection now. I don't even know how many have actually been made since then, but it's been a hell of a 10 years. I'm really liking the Black Series. I hope it's around for a long time. And like I said, I really, I like what the team is doing. They do have some faults every once in a while, but when they have their home runs kind of make up for the faults that they're having. I feel like if different decisions could be made about certain things, then that would be great. But, again, walking into Toys R Us that first day, 2013, I got the whole wave, and I loved them from the very start. I went home and I ordered Wave 2 off of Entertainment Earth, and then I found a cheap Han and Carbonite on eBay from the Comic-Con exclusive, and then like I said, the rest is history. So it's been a great 10 years for this line. I hope it makes it another 10, 20 years because, I really like what the team is doing. A lot of wants that I still want to see in this scale, and Star Wars is timeless, so they have a lot of content to build off of. They have the original trilogy. They have over 40 years of content between original trilogy, Clone Wars, expanded universe, games, everything. It's just they have a lot to go off of, and I think this line could go for a very long time. So I'm very happy with it. Thanks for sticking around this long. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, hoping to build my channel up as best as I can. I don't want to be like every other channel out there, but I like to talk about the Black Series. So if you like this video, once again, hit subscribe. I'll have a lot more videos coming out. Hit the like button, and again, thanks for watching, and I'll have more videos out soon. See you guys.